From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander. On this episode,
let's meet Jeff Maconi. He's the owner of the Maconi Setup Shop and the newly launched Maconi Entertainment. He is an iRacer by trade and passion, but now he's getting behind the wheel of a real ride to race at the famous Winchester Speedway.
Looking for ways to save on your energy bills? AES Indiana has you covered. From smart thermostats to home energy assessments, we offer simple solutions to keep your home comfortable and your costs down. AES can help you save money and energy with kits, tips, rebates, and more. Visit aesindiana.com/ways to save to learn more about how we can help you save money. AES Indiana, helping you discover real ways to save.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
I am the president and owner of Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Entertainment. I went to Purdue University. I started in 2017. I graduated in 2021 with a degree in mechanical engineering technology. We did the last year online, but it was that opportunity that gave me the chance to start up Maconi Setup Shop. So we went home for spring break and we were essentially told, hey, we're not coming back quite yet. Everyone's just going to be at home for the next couple weeks. And then it was, you're going to finish the semester at home. And then finally, I just said, okay, I got to do something with my time. So I started up Maconi Setup Shop, and we were just building setups for the iRacing platform. So anything you can do on a real car, we can do on a virtual car. We can change half a pound of tire pressure. We can do 1/1000th of an inch on the ride height in the left front corner. Anything that can be touched on a real car, we can do virtually. So we started building these setups. We started just selling them to people. We caught some attention. We worked with all sorts of different teams. We were partnered with Junior Motorsports for a time. We're now a partner of eNASCAR, which is NASCAR's gaming and esports division. From there, we also launched a broadcasting division, Maconi Entertainment. So now not only are we building setups for the cars and organizing events, we are broadcasting them so anyone can watch at home. We've got 40 drivers in the field racing, while we can have all of their friends and family watching at home on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and all these other different platforms. So being able to take my engineering knowledge of how the world works, I was able to apply that to the iRacing world and turn it into a business, and now here I am going for a real car.
Talk a little bit about the networking through building Maconi Setup Shop, because it really took off really fast for you with all those different ventures.
Absolutely. There were so many people I met along the way, each with a different view of the business and its future and how iRacing would look in the next 2, 5, 10 years. And meeting a lot of those people, you find out very quickly that racing is a very large interest, but a very small community. Everyone knows everyone in some capacity, and you're only 1 or 2, 3 maybe people detached from the legends, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., someone that you know probably knows them or knows someone that does know them. So very quickly you learn you have to stay on people's good sides. Very quickly you learn everyone is someone worth talking to. So we made a lot of connections early on because we were really the first to do it. There was nobody selling iRacing setups. It was really unheard of. A lot of people would just give them away for free or would help other people free of charge. And that's great to have, but when we went in and said, hey, you don't have to put in the work yourself. You don't have to sit and learn how to build a car or ask someone for it. Just pay us a couple bucks and we'll do it for you. Ruffled some feathers, obviously. You know, there's people that have been doing this for years and have a very strong opinion of what should and shouldn't be done in terms of setups. But a lot of people were very open to it. You go from working your 40-hour-a-week job, you want to go home and race. Well, you got to build a setup, and to do that, you have to practice, and you have to hope that what you're doing is correct. And then if it's wrong, you have to figure out what's wrong. And very, very annoying process for a lot of people. So with this, they have the opportunity to jump in, drive, not have to worry about anything. And those people told their friends, who told their friends, and eventually word made its way up, and we were able to enter into that partnership with eNASCAR, and we're going to races, and we're at the NASCAR Hall of Fame for the Coke Series Championship, which is NASCAR's virtual series. And all of those opportunities really stemmed from talking to people, hearing what they had to say, talking to who they knew, and a lot of it boiled down to, oh yeah, my buddy would love something like this, or oh, he's big into that, and jumping on those opportunities, and here we are today. That's how actually I met Brayton, whose team this is, and how we got into getting into a real car was all connections made through iRacing.
And obviously you've had a lot of interest in this because you were able to graduate college, work a job for a year, quit and turn that into a full-time business and a full-time job for yourself. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I graduated from Purdue after about a year or so of Maconi Setup Shop being active. And when I graduated, I was home for about a month or two figuring out what I really wanted to do. The business was started, but it certainly wasn't sustainable yet. And I knew I could grow it into something sustainable, but to take that risk right out of college when I had bills to pay, I had to pay rent, I had to get a new car, I had to do all these different things after graduating college. So I went to work for a year at Hankook Tire in Clarksville, Tennessee. That's where I still live, actually. And I worked there as a process design engineer, which basically meant everything that went on in the factory, we had to figure out where any issues came up, what caused them, and how to fix them. So I looked at data for the 12,000 tires a day that were made, figured out what the trends were, what was going right, what was going wrong, and figure out why all of those things were occurring. And I worked there for a year, and a year to the day after I started, I put in my 2 weeks notice. Maconi Setup Shop was growing so much, I was so worn out really from balancing a 40-hour-a-week engineering job with running my personal business. I would be gone, 20 weekends a year because I had to travel on the weekends. I'd drive from work to the airport on Friday night, land back again on Sunday night or very early Monday morning, and then go right back to work. So finally I made the decision. I sold a portion of the company, about 10% of it, to outside investors, and that gave me the capital that I needed in order to safely go into it with a bit of a safety net underneath me, while also building and growing the business. And all of that came with a clause as well to be able to buy that percentage back and retain full ownership and full creative control of the company. So it really was very lucky that I had those investors on the outside who bought into the company and are willing to be bought back out at a very, very reasonable price in order to build and grow that brand and into what it has become.
Just yourself, or do you have multiple employees?
There's a lot of people that work behind the scenes, and they're sort of like contractors. They're not doing this full time, but it gives them some extra money. So we've got multiple setup builders who, some build 1 car, some build 10 cars every week. We offer 20 plus different cars each week. It sort of varies depending on what's going on, but usually about 23 to 25 cars available every single week on iRacing. And behind the scenes, those guys go in, they test, they tune, they build the setups, they adjust for the weather conditions, they learn from the previous weeks and apply it to the next weeks. And what I'm really proud of is how long that crew has stayed on board. We've got people who have been with me for about 3 years now, since the beginning of the company. The guy who actually builds our late models, which is what I'm going to be racing at Winchester, the guy who builds those cars has been with us since June of 2021. He was my first ever employee that I brought on. He is amazing and has been great ever since. So we've got all those, and then on the Maconi Entertainment side, we have a whole crew of producers and announcers and race controllers, and so probably another 20 to 25 people behind the scenes there on top of the 10 we have at Maconi Setup Shop. So all in all, about 30 to 35 people who are in the weeds with me, working every week. And what's nice for them is it's all work as available whenever they want it. I never run out of work to give out, so if they want something, they can shoot me a message and, hey, yeah, I'll pay you this much for it. This is how long it'll take you. There you go. And I learned really quickly on that if you pay them well, they will stay on board. A lot of my competitors will, cycle out new people every season, and it's just a rotating door of staff. And I think of it like a store. If you go into Walmart and you see the same greeters and the same cashiers and the same aisle stockers every time, you're going to say, oh, hey, it's Diane. She's always stocking the produce, you know? And you say hi to them, and you're happier when you go there, and you keep going back to that place. Partially for the convenience and for what they have, but partially because it's a friendly face. So we paid them well. We pay them well above what other competitors of ours are paying them, and they've stayed on board ever since, and it works out really well that way, I've found.
We've talked a lot about the virtual world.
Mm-hmm.
We got a real race car here next to you. Talk about the connection with Brayton and what that's led to for you here.
Well, this all started really in Talladega of 2022. We were sponsoring a car, and that car actually ramped off of Brayton's car at about 185 miles an hour. They were both involved in a wreck. Brayton was spun around in the grass, and our guy was involved in the wreck. He got tagged and spun around and happened to catch Brayton's front end and went flying through the air. And I guess he saw the Maconi Setup Shop sticker as the car flew by, because a couple weeks later he messaged me saying, hey, I'm on iRacing as well. I know you're big into that space, and I'm racing at Knoxville in a couple weeks in the trucks. And he was using iRacing to practice. So we helped with coaching and getting the setup underneath him to figure out how the heck you run a truck, you know, a multi-thousand-pound truck around a very tough dirt track at Knoxville. So we helped him out there. We were also both at the premiere of the Sim Racer movie, which was a movie made a couple years ago. They're a great group of people over there, Brock Drury and his team. And they made a movie about sim racing. We went down to the premiere in Atlanta, Georgia at the Plaza Theater. Very cool, a lot of fun. And Brayton and I sat down for the first time. We started talking. We realized we've got a lot in common. And finally, a couple years later, Brayton's been doing work as one of our announcers, and we've been helping him out with sponsorship on the ARCA side. We've been working together for years. And finally I said, Brayton, I'm ready to make the jump. I want to drive a real car. What do we got to do? And he said, I've got a brand new car to me in. We just bought it. We think it's pretty darn good. We need someone to come out and drive it at Winchester. And the race is October 11th and 12th. Spot's yours if you want it. And I said, okay, we'll do it. We got the fire suit made up. I'm really lucky to have a Bruzy as a sponsor. And so they made this awesome suit for me, and they're going to be heavily involved. So everything that we're doing is with the intention of doing it right. We could have gone and, you know, gone racing for cheaper and done it easier, but now that we're actually going out and doing this, one thing that I've learned is if you're going to go out and you're going to do something, it's worth doing right. A job worth doing is worth doing right is how I approach everything. So they're still working on the car, as you can see, but October 11th and 12th, it's going to be all beautiful and perfect. It's going to look pretty similar to this. It'll still be this white color, but it's going to be just like the Mach 5 from Speed Racer, except we call it the Mach 03. That was a big inspiration for me in racing and learning. So here we are with the car, and it's pretty surreal that it's all coming together.
Think back to where all of this started. Did you ever think that you would say that you were gearing up to race in a real car at Winchester?
It's hard to believe. I grew up, I have an older brother, Greg, who is a huge part of my life, and he's 5 years older than me. And I remember growing up, we would always watch NASCAR and always talk about it. And we always said, we're going to go out and we're going to be racers. And I was, 5 or 6 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go race out there with my brother. We're going to be Kurt and Kyle Busch. And I sort of let that dream pass. I ended up working at a lot of racetracks. I worked at Stafford Motor Speedway as an announcer. And that's where I jumped in and learned about racing with a firsthand perspective. But I never thought, really past the age of 16, I said, well, most of the people that are in racing at my age have been in there. They started in go-karts, they work their way up, they build their own cars. That's just not what I'm doing. That wasn't where my life was going. And I said, that's fine. I had come to terms with, I love race cars, I love watching racing, but I'm not going to be behind the wheel. And then Maconi Setup Shop really took off. It all seemed to be pointing in this direction. And when this car, I heard about this car from Brayton, and I said, that's an interesting idea, and I thought Brayton was going to be the one driving it. That was the original plan with it, and then plans changed. They have other late models here, but this one was always sitting, and I said, it's finally time. I'm going to do it. I'm ready to make that commitment. It was something that always sat in the back of my mind as, if I don't take this chance when I can, I'm going to regret it later. And at 26 years old, I'm still kind of old to be getting into it. And I think the other part of it is we work a lot with Frankie Muniz, who just got back into racing. He was on Malcolm in the Middle, and I watched him on TV growing up every day before school. And he got back into racing, and he's become a great personal friend of mine. And he said, when his son was born, he wanted to get back into racing to show him that he could do anything. And I sort of saw that, and I'm like, he can do it in his 30s and jump right into it at ARCA and work his way up. I said, I got to start somewhere and maybe work my way up to that level too. So if it will go that far, who knows? But I sure am excited to jump in and race this late model and at least say down the line, I did it, I tried it, I jumped in a late model, and I raced, and I had a good time doing it, and I did it right.
Last question. What makes you the happiest about what you're doing?
I get to wake up every day and really live my life the way I want to. If I wake up one morning and I say, I'm just not feeling it, the creative juices aren't flowing, it's not clicking, I can say, okay, I need an hour, I need 2 hours to just sit, decompress, focus on something else. And then it works. With a 9-to-5 job, I was very constrained in what I was able to do. I would show up to work at 8 a.m., I'd work until 5 p.m., and I felt like I was in a box. I couldn't think creatively. I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do. I was so limited on time. Then when I left that job and took my business full time, I learned that time really is of the essence. Every second you waste is $1 wasted, let's say. But you have to spend that time wisely. So the fact that I get to wake up, do something that I love every single day, talk to people, race on iRacing, and take that and go into a real car and, talk to these people that I grew up watching on TV with other racers or Frankie Muniz. The fact that I get to do that just blows my mind. And if it all ends, what makes me the happiest is that I can honestly say, if it all ended tomorrow and the company shut down and everything was over tomorrow just like that, I could still look back at it and say, that was worth every second of it, and I got way more than I ever deserved, and I'm really happy to do it every day.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, BEOshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunity Show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at BEOshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.